As great as the 90s were overall for movies, I think 1993 was the best one. What's up, everybody? So it's 1993. Now, every single movie on this list is either a huge blockbuster or just an absolute classic. Check these out. We're going to start off with Jurassic Park, which is still the best one and the only one really that I would like to watch after like the millions of sequels that were made after. Schindler's List. Yeah, Spielberg had both of those movies in the same year. Although Schindler's List is not exactly a movie that you watch casually, you probably watch it once, get traumatized by it, and then just think back on it fondly as one of the most impactful movie experiences you ever had. Dazed and Confused. You know, the classic that gave us Matthew McConaughey and his famous, all right, all right, all right. But the one line I love more than that is what he says at the very end when he says, hey man, you just gotta keep living. Livin. After that, we got Tombstone, which is, I think, Val Kilmer's best performance in any movie he's ever done, and that's really saying something. And Kind of Criminal, that performance that he wasn't nominated for an Oscar. True Romance, even though we had Reservoir Dogs, fun fact, he actually sold the script for this one before he did Reservoir Dogs. And that collaboration, because he didn't direct it, Tony Scott did, and he loves it. He says it's one of his favorite movies of all time, to be honest. And the fact that he didn't make more movies with Tony Scott, I thought that would have been nice. Maybe not necessarily only write scripts and have somebody else do them. I think the whole Oliver Stone, Natural Born Killers fiasco left a really bad taste in his mouth, which I totally can understand. But I think it would have been interesting to see him and Tony Scott work a little bit more together. A Bronx Tale, which kind of gets lost in the shuffle with other gangster movies, you know, like Goodfellas or Casino. But A Bronx Tale is really, really underrated. It's a smaller film. It's basically just inside one neighborhood. So it doesn't have kind of like the scope and the grandness that sometimes the mafia world has in some of these movies. But I think the fact that it was just kind of scaled down to a more palatable level just made it more real and more impactful. The Sandlot, which is one of those kid movies, I think is the best kid movie ever made. You know, I like the Mighty Ducks, you know, I like the Air Buds, I like Rookie of the Year, I like all these, you know, kid sports related movies. But there's just something about The Sandlot. You know, the characters are all very, very much individuals. They're all great parts of a whole. And that whole idea of friendship, and they really do feel like friends. I'm not really sure how much contact they had with each other after the movie, but this movie just really felt like a snapshot of what a group of friends went through in one summer. And it's classic. If you're a parent, show your kid this movie. It's just terrific fun. Groundhog Day, you know, Bill Murray just doing what Bill Murray does. But I think what I liked a lot about this movie as an adult is I understood the depth of Bill Murray's performance. You know, because yes, he's sardonic, he is sarcastic, you know, he just has that kind of devil-may-care attitude about things. But then he adds this other layer, you know, which is that the love interest angle he has with Andy McDowell's character. It's something we don't see too much of with some of his movies. They're just so known for the type of humor that he brings to the table that when he has this additional aspect of his performance, it sticks out to me. The Fugitive with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones, you know, the movie that won Tommy Lee Jones his Oscar, you know, exciting, suspenseful, great action. The Firm, you know, just Tom Cruise, you know, if anyone can hit more home runs than Tom Cruise in their career. I don't know who that is off the top of my head. Just another great. This is when like John Grisham had a lot of his books adapted into movies, and they were all just winners. And this, I think, is probably one of the best ones of it. Directed by Sidney Pollack. Also, highly recommend that you check that one out. Mrs. Doubtfire. Another movie that hits different when you become a parent. Just a guy just wanting to be with his kids and will do literally anything to make that happen. Falling Down with Michael Douglas, directed by Joel Schumacher. And I think Joel Schumacher, he got a bad rap because of the Batman movies that he made and kind of how over the top and ridiculous they all looked. But if you really want to see how amazing a director he is, you watch Falling Down. You might even watch A Time to Kill. But Falling Down, I think, is probably his best work. And just powerhouse performance by Michael Douglas and Robert Duvall. In the Name of the Father, one of the great performances by Daniel Day-Lewis. And I believe it's also based on a true story of an Irishman that was imprisoned with his father for a crime that they had nothing to do with. Carlito's Way, another one of those gangster movies that kind of gets, left by the wayside. And really, I think, when I saw this movie for the first time as a teenager, it kind of caught me off guard. And really because of Pacino's, not his performance, but his character. You always just saw him as an Italian-American guy. And for him to play a Puerto Rican, it just didn't vibe with me. It wasn't believable. But he still, does not mail it in. He gives it all he has. And as an adult watching it, it's just incredible. And him sharing the screen with Sean Penn, John Leguizamo as Benny Blanco from the Bronx. Just great Brian De Palma movie. Philadelphia, that got, not just that, hey, it got Tom Hanks his Oscar, but pairing him with Denzel Washington, one of the two great actors of their time, sharing the screen together in just an amazing way. Searching for Bobby Fischer. That's one really flies under the radar. About the chess prodigy. I forget his name, to be honest. But he's just a little kid, and he's just beating everybody in chess. And based on a true story and how, his journey trying to be the best chess player he can be, but also trying to still be a kid and not, lose his childhood while trying to be great and aspiring to be like Bobby Fischer. Demolition Man, which I think is Sylvester Stallone's best action movie. Menace to Society. Blood In, Blood Out. Both really great, gritty neighborhood gang movies. And Rudy. What a year. All right, what about you guys? Let me know what you think of your favorites in the comments below. Smash that like button, give me a follow, and I'll see you guys next time.